One aspect of PicturesToExe which was available from version 9 is the ability we have to create custom transitions. With some custom transitions, particularly if the image is slightly smaller than the format of the slideshow we're making, we could see the background behind the image as the image runs the animation that we've applied to that custom transition. Now, as you can see with the example in the mini player, the background could be a colored background, or in fact it could be almost anything, including a repeat of the image we're actually showing. It's becoming quite popular to blur the image we're showing on screen and allow that to form a background to the main image. In this case, we have the ability to split our main image, the one we are presenting, from the background, so that the custom transition animation does not include the background. I think it's probably best if I demonstrate this first. As you can see with the three images I've got in the slide list here, I've dragged a slide down for all three, of course, but if I take you into the objects and animation screen for one of those, you can see I've made the image slightly smaller than the background. Sometimes it's quite nice to present images in this way. If I take you to the animation tab, you can see that the zoom for this particular image and the other two is 85%. Let me close down the objects and animation screen, because to each of these images I have applied a custom transition. Now let me take you to that. Slide options. There's the custom transition that I've used, and you can actually see a thumbnail example here. In fact, it's already demonstrating the problem that I'm highlighting here. You can see as the image goes through the custom transition, the background moves with the image and doesn't look very pleasant. If I show you that in the mini player here and start playing from this one, you'll see how it looks when you've got two images side by side. And there you can see what I mean. What Splitter does is allow us to split this image from the background, and we can allow perhaps the background to fade while the image still carries out the custom transition. So to apply the splitter here, what I'd need to do is to go to my slide options, to my transitions, and to the custom transition that I've applied. Here it's called revolver backgrounds, and as you can see, we can see a representation of it up at the top right. If I go to manage transitions and change transition settings, scrolling down here, you can see I've got a couple of options here to choose to use the background from slide and transparent background from slides. Now I get an opportunity here to choose from one of these options, but dissolve works perfectly. Let me click OK to that and OK, because remember I've just changed this transition. So I'm going to select all three, which could be a lot more than this, of course. I'm going to go back and select the custom transition. Now let me put my cursor back right at the start, and we'll use the mini player to demonstrate the difference. See how the background now is fading on, but allowing the custom transition to continue. Much more pleasant on the eye. As you can see by the spinning round of the screen, I have cleared the slide list of those three images with the coloured backgrounds. I'm going to reapply them with a double click of each. I'm going to go to the first one and open the objects and animation screen. I'm going to use the image as its own background. I can do that with copy and paste. So with glass 1 selected over on the right hand side, the objects panel, I can hit Control C, then click into the grey area to lose the selection there, and Control V, which will paste it. So I've now got two identical images, one sitting over the top of the other. Let's take the main image, the one we're going to view mostly, and reduce the zoom to 85%. Let's go to the properties and let's put a border around it. Let's go for a darker one than that, and something a bit smaller, and we may even want to add a bit of a shadow. Now, selecting the background, which you can see now sitting behind, I'm going to go to my animation tab again. I can zoom the image maybe. I can adjust the opacity and maybe blur it. So I've created quite a nice presentation for the image. I'm going to repeat what I've done here to the other two in the slide list, and of course for speed we can jump to the next slide using the arrows at the top right. Now, as I bring you back to the slide list here, you can see that we're just using the default fade over 2 seconds. No custom transition has yet been applied. So let me stop that and apply one. So what I'd like to do is apply the custom transition to all three of those. And if I go into the slide options, the one I want to use is horizontal flip. And you can see the issue we have at the moment. As the image rotates, we can see the background rotating as well. Not very pleasant on the eye. So maybe we can go down to Manage Transitions and we can go to Change Transition Settings, and if we scroll down here we can tick to use the background from slide and the transparent background of slides. Click OK and OK. Let's see what we have. Now, when I run the mini player, you may be surprised to see that the background is still spinning around with the main image. Now, I can quickly put that right by going back into the Objects and Animation screen. Let me demonstrate with the first image by going to the Objects and Animation. I'm going to click into the Objects box on the bottom right, and you'll notice that all of the selections are lost. I'm going to right click and add splitter for background objects. Now, anything below this is going to be treated as a split background. So there's our background. So all I need to do is to hold my control key and hit page down. We can adjust the order here with a right click as well. There's the order, but control page down is easier. Let's do the same thing with the next one along. And if I leave this one selected and I right click and I add splitter, you can see it still drops to the bottom. So again, control page down. And finally, now let's take a look at what we have. And as you can see, we get that lovely gentle fade of the background from one to the other. Much more pleasant on the eye. Now, I'm not sure whether you noticed when I ran that small test that the drop shadow didn't seem to work quite as nicely as I would have liked. But just a final test to complete this video. I've just increased the transition time to 4 seconds, so we've got more time to see what we've applied here. And I've increased the slide duration to 8 seconds too. So let's just press play from here to bring the video to a close. And of course, with the first slide, we may not want to use that sort of custom transition. We may want to stay with a fade, but that does look quite pleasant. A little bit on the slow side now perhaps, but it does give us a chance to see what we've achieved with the splitter.